What the hell? Come on, don't do this. Okay, so let me do something. Hello, and we are live. We are live. We are live. Let me just. We are live, and okay, that's better. Great. Okay, so we are live, and I'm not going to be on here that long today. I didn't even plan. I didn't even plan on doing this live. I was working on something else. Saw Lucas had posted something on Twitter, Amazing Lucas, and I was like, "Whoa!" So he posted that the TikToker Unusually Bree had gotten fired, and I'm hoping I'm hoping this isn't like maybe somebody was saying that she was fired and it's incorrect. But then I look around, and I see her doing a video talking about how she got fired. And I'm like, you can't be serious. And I'm not saying you can't be serious because I didn't think like the business would do that, would react. I'm saying you can't be serious because these clowns actually were calling for her to be fired. She said she wanted. So, in case you don't know, you Unusually Bree, she went viral on TikTok. She had a video saying that she wants Black men to go to therapy so that they can expand their emotional vocabulary. That it'll help them in their relationships with their women, and it will help them just in life in general. It'll be good for them, good for their relationships. It'll just be an all around net gain. um what's up, D? What's up, Loner? Cruising with the wind. um yeah, it wasn't even, see, it wasn't even a criticism, it was more of a critique. And it was complete with, this is what you can do, this can help you. So it wasn't just uh oh, y'all are messed up. There was actual steps she's providing, and she's like, listen, this will help. Indeed, what's up? And the reaction is, oh, she hates Black men. I'm like, what video were you watching? What video were you watching? Because and I know what it is, because I can say that intellectually, that's what I'm saying. But after having been through therapy, and that's another thing, I speak on this as a person who's been through a lot of therapy. Okay, so here's what happened, D. She did it on TikTok, and then they started sharing it on Twitter. So while I was on TikTok, people was watching it and whatever. So people came on Twitter, started sharing it around, and then people started criticizing it. People were like, "Oh, she hates Black men. This anti-Black man, you know, message." And she's like, at one point in the video, she explicitly says, "Y'all are human. Y'all have emotions and feelings. You don't have to choke that down." How does that sound? Like, how is that the words of somebody who hates Black men? She's telling Black men, you have emotions and feelings, let that out. Let it off your chest so you don't just have to carry this burden. She's imploring for Black men to take steps to help themselves. And these motherfuckers go run to. So here's what happened. There's, in fact, and she posted today that there was a Black female writer or whatever who, she came out with an article where she doxed her full name and place of employment. She put her full name and place of employment in that article. So thank you, D. Thank you. Like, here's the thing. I get if people disagree. That's a great starting point for a conversation, especially since there were several content creators who disagreed. There were several content creators who could have reached out to her and said, "Hey, I have my own platform. Would you mind coming on?" Now, I don't know if anybody did. I know a lot of people were talking about her. I don't know. I didn't see anybody talking to her. I don't know if anybody reached out to her, but that would have been the first thing to do, because she explicitly said the woman who wrote the article about her, where she used her full government name and her place of employment, never contacted her. She said that woman never contacted her, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. But then there was, like I said, there were male content creators who could have said, "Hey, I want to have a discussion about it." But they had already made up their mind. She hates black women. She hates black men, and I'm like, she has some kind of critique. Let's say she has criticism. Let's call it criticism. She has criticism for black men. How does criticism equal hate of black men? Because Kevin Samuels had criticism for black women, and these cats wasn't saying, "Oh, Kevin." They were defending the accusations against Kevin Samuel hating black women. So, in fact, somebody posted today. They posted a tweet of Kevin Samuels in response to this, and somebody's like, "Yeah, so yeah, when it was Kevin Samuels, then it was then when you're talking greasy to black men, there's no problem. But when it was Kevin Samuels, then they had a problem." And I'm like, there's a flip side to that coin. That works both ways. Like, if you were okay with Kevin Samuels speaking to black women this way, how are you going to be mad that this woman is speaking to black men this way? Like, it goes both ways. Conversely, if you're mad that Kevin Samuels was speaking to black women this way, then you have to understand if somebody's mad that this black woman is speaking to black men this way. Because I've seen comparisons. That's actually a good point. Because she actually said, like, this woman put her in danger, put her full government name and where she works in the article. Like, so if you Google, like, I Googled therapist, everything, and it comes up in Google with her name in bold letters. I'm like, what? Like, this is the results that come up on Google. Her name in bold letters. I'm like Google's trying to, like, what the hell is Google doing? But I look at this, and so she got doxxed. They put her name out there, and they put her name out there. They put where she worked, and then people started calling the job. So people started calling the job, saying how offensive what she said was, and it's going to make black men, not want to take therapy, not engage in therapy. And let me say something, because I've been to therapy, and in the video I did before, I spoke on it. I didn't. Here's why I don't see her the way she spoke as a problematic. It sounded so familiar. It was so reminiscent of me going to therapy and having my therapist tell me, "Well, what are you feeling?" And, like, I'm like, I'm good. She's like, "No, no, no. What are you feeling? Not like, not fine, not good. Tell me what emotions you're feeling." And then she said, "Okay, I want you to write a journal. And in this journal, I want you to write what emotions you're feeling throughout the week. And then we'll talk about it in our next session." And I'm like, I'm not writing a journal. I'm not a teenage girl. Like, I'm pretty sure I said something very similar to that. Like, I'm not a teenage girl. Because that was like, I bristled at the notion of having to write my emotions down. In addition to the fact that I didn't even have the words to completely describe all of the emotions I was going through. So I get where the initial resistance is, but, like I'm saying, that's why I know why what she's saying is so valid, because I've been through that, where I'm like, wait a minute, like, what are the words? Like, how do I, like, I keep, like, what even are the different types of emotions that we can experience? But if we never talk about them, we never use the words, like how would we be well versed in this? And especially in a society where men are told not to express emotions, and black men are definitely, like, black men are told not only are you not supposed to express emotions, but basically this society doesn't care about you. Like literally, this society says we don't care about your feelings, so suck it up, shut up, and suck it up. That's what this society says. She gets on and says, "Listen, you don't have to suck it up. Let it out. Go to therapy. Talk to somebody. Let it out." And they say she hates black men. Um, This woman wasn't nearly out of pocket as Kevin Samuels. People need to chill. Listen, like I said, she wasn't even going that hard. She was being playful with it. People were like, oh, well, she was speaking unprofessionally. Like, speaking unprofessionally, she's speaking colloquially. Like, what? It's mind blowing what how people reacted to this. Um, Arguable. Um, she's a therapist. Yeah, well, she's still a therapist. She's no longer with the company she was with, but she is still a therapist. So she still has, the ability to work someplace else. Um, at some point, she might just start her own practice, which is, yeah, like that might be the best bet. But like it's ridiculous because after they called her job, here's what she did. She actually had to come out with another video. So she came out with another video in the midweek apologizing and providing an explanation. So her apology was like, I apologize if I offended you, if it felt like I was attacking you. And people are like, oh, that's not a real apology. Okay, listen, you know what? She's not apologizing for the message because she believes in the message. She believes that black men would benefit from therapy. And I don't understand how individuals could look at life in America and how demonized we are in this society and think that no, that takes no toll on you. That has no effect on you whatsoever. And then like in this bristle, oh, you said I need therapy. That's a bad word. It's like she didn't say nothing about your mama. Calm down. Calm down. But she apologizes for how she made people feel, but she says, listen, this is my intent behind what I was talking about. And so people are saying she's doubled down because she believes in her message that black men would benefit from therapy. So people are like, oh, well, I don't like, because I've had discussions with people on Twitter over the week, and they're like, well, you're used to people yelling at you and cursing at you. I said, okay, she wasn't, I didn't find her to be yelling, and she wasn't cursing at me. Like that's like anytime somebody uses curse words, they're cursing at you. No, she's cursing in conversation. Like it's not cursing at you. And it's the way she speaks. And I think what she was doing is speaking in a way to establish rapport. She was speaking much more laid back, much more informally to help build rapport. And then people are like, oh, she's not professional. And it's just, I'm like, what the hell? Are you serious? But you move on to pass the explanation to what happened today, and she's been fired. And she gets on TikTok. She does a video again today, and like I saw it on Twitter, shared on Twitter, and she's like, "Listen, they fired me," and she breaks down how that woman doxed wrote the article. A bunch of other articles were written about her. Dudes was calling her job, calling for her to be fired, and the board at her job said, "Yeah, we're gonna let you go." Like this is they didn't want the smoke, they didn't want the negative attention, and then people on Twitter celebrating. People on Twitter celebrating because they got this black woman fired. In my personal opinion, while her message might have been valid, her overall tone was very demeaning to black men. Okay, D, I have a question for you. How emotionally, how in touch? Okay, let's take this away from black men for a second. Black men in America, American men, how in touch with our emotions are American men? Like, this is the question. And so there's a reason why in the video I did on this, I started with asking two questions. Well, a question and a challenge. And the question was, how many emotions are there? How many emotions exist? And two, how many emotions can you name before the end of the video? I asked that for a reason. Because like I said, I'm in therapy. This is years ago. When I went through this particular portion of therapy, and actually this, by the way, this happening this week got me to pull open a notebook and start journaling again, because I was like, I had gotten away from that, because not every therapist is going to focus on the same thing as any particular therapist thinks you need to work on. So the therapist at the time that I was working with, she was like, okay, listen, you need to be working on emotions and emotional vocabulary and that kind of thing. But when I even had to explain it, number one, I felt icky having to talk about my emotions. I was like, that's girly. That's what I felt like. Two, I didn't even know the words. Like I said, well, how many emotions are there? Like, just happy, like, how many are there? Most Black Americans, listen, most Black Americans need therapy. If you look at the book, Post Traumatic Slavery Syndrome, right here, Post Traumatic Slavery Syndrome. What the trauma Black people have been through in this country, we need therapy. We need healing from this. But the fact that just even suggesting therapy has people going off, I'm like, what? How are people going off at the suggestion that we need to do something to protect our mental health against all of the external forces that are trying to undermine our mental wellness? We're in a society, we're in a country that spent hundreds of years waging war against us. Hundreds of years waging war against us. Hundreds of years of pushing lies that we are inferior human beings, that we're inferior. Part of it is that we're not even human beings. Part of the message they were pushing is that we weren't even human beings. This is the society we live in, and this has no mental toll on us. Like, what? So I think, honestly, a lot of Black men are tired of criticism of Black women. I hear you, but I think part of maturity, so here's what I found. I'll take it to me. There may have been a time, and this was a long time ago, that I was very resistant to any critiques and criticisms. But as a result of that, I went way off the deep end, just completely off the deep end, completely gone. So, like, you know how I said in the title, weak Black men? I wasn't even I was a male. You would have to consider me a boy, because I was so fragile, so emotionally fragile. But guess what? I I because of that fragility, it wound up just manifesting itself in a way where my life was completely in shambles, completely just shattered. So at that point, I was in a position where I had no choice but to accept the reality that I had a problem. Like, I had no choice. Now, there's a lot of dudes out there that may be going to work, living life, and they're functional enough that they can still avoid having to accept certain realities that they may need certain help. But just because just because we fail to acknowledge that we need help doesn't mean we don't need help. And that help could be provided and necessary in a multitude of different ways. The whole fact is, I ask this question. If somebody has criticism for me, I ask the question, am I perfect? Am I perfect? Because if my automatic reaction to somebody criticizing me is, I gotta take that. Oh, so that means I'm perfect now. That's what I'm saying. That's why I ask myself. I say, wait, so I'm perfect. Okay, if I'm not perfect, what did they just say to me? And so while and like I said, this is actually something that helped me from the therapy. I get to step outside of myself for a little bit and say, okay, my emotional reaction to this statement was I felt offended, I felt angry, I felt attacked, but that was my emotional reaction. That's what I felt. Now, let me look at what happened without the emotional filter. You see, if we don't know how to conduct the emotional analysis, if we don't know how to do that, we can't ever see past these filters, because these filters will have us reading things into what people say and people do that may not be accurate. And so that's why where a person can say something to us, and if we're in a good mood, we read this through a completely different emotional filter than if somebody says something and we're in a bad mood. Because now it automatically, we're seeing through a filter of emotions and not actually looking at the situation objectively. But I hear you. A lot of men may not want to be criticized by Black women. The fact is, why are we in the place we're at? Why are we here where there's this static between the sexes, and and more importantly than that, where are we as a community? So listen, here's the thing. If I'm gonna say I don't want criticism, that means, like I said, am I perfect? I better be on point. Because for me to say that I am above criticism, that means everything has to be on point. If everything's not on point, then you know what? I need some criticism. I need some critique. I need some advice. There's something I need to be doing differently. And if somebody is offering sincere advice and help on what I could be doing differently, then I have to say, let me think about it. Let me think about it. Let me think. And and you may say, you think about it and then go, nah, I think she's wrong. You could come to that conclusion. But let's just stop and think about it first. That's it. Let's just start there. Let's just start with stopping and thinking about it first instead of just being reactionary. Because I'm noticing something in the country right now. And I've noticed it in other communities. I didn't notice it was so bad. It's getting worse with us as well. But like, if you see, there's these cottage industries that exist of lying to people, of telling people what they want to hear. And people are paying a premium to have their ears tickled right now. And it's like, at what point do people say, nah, I don't want you to lie to me. I'd rather you help me. I'd rather you tell me what it is, like it is, because like that's the mark of a true friend. A true friend isn't somebody that's always going to tell you, yeah, you're doing right. Yeah. Go ahead, jump off that bridge. That you'll be fine. Trust me. Yeah. Start the argument with those 20 guys on the corner. Yes, argue with them. Don't worry, everything's going to go fine. Yeah. Let's sell this pack in front of the precinct. Yeah. That's a good idea. Like a good friend doesn't just tell you what you want to hear, doesn't just constantly tell you yes. A good friend is going to tell you that's a stupid idea. That's a stupid idea. What are you thinking? And there's, quite frankly, there are therapists. Like I said, there's times in therapy things have gotten very contentious. But I'm seeing people on Twitter say, "Oh, well, in therapy, they're supposed to be non-judgmental and accepting." Listen, in therapy, they're not going to just tell you everything you want to hear. In therapy, there's going to be pushback. In therapy, there's going to be a point where they're like, "Nah, you're like what?" Because if you were going into therapy expecting the therapist to be like, "You're fine, you're completely good. Everybody around you is the problem." So like you'll go in therapy, yeah, my mom is a problem, blah 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 blah, and they'll be like, yeah, that's personal problem. Yeah, that person is a problem. That person is like, yeah, everybody else is a problem in your life, but you're fine. You don't have to change a thing because there may be people in your life that are a problem, and your therapist may acknowledge that from what you're saying, or may understand that from what you're saying, but your therapist will still be like, okay, but what can you do? What can you do to improve your situation? And that's where I was at. Like I'm in a real messed up situation, and it was an unjust situation, and I'm providing documentation about this. But the therapist says, "Okay, that's a fact. I can't change that situation for you. I can help you deal with it better. I can give you the tools so that this situation that you're facing doesn't destroy you." And then we have to look at like, so if she's doing that and she's like, "Listen, I know the world is messed up. I know the world is hard on you black men." Because she literally said that. This is not Candace Owens. This woman, Unusually Bree, is not Candace Owens. Unusually Bree is not Cynthia G. She's not talking about deleting male babies. No, that's not her. Like, she was saying things that you may disagree with, but let's have a conversation. Let's have a conversation. Um, okay. Let me look at some of these chats. So Vanguard, are black men unable to express themselves? And why did she believe that? Okay, so once again, I'm going to ask, did anybody, how many emotions are there? I'm asking everybody in the chat. Come on, let me know, how many emotions do you think exist? And how many emotions, like you don't have to necessarily name all the emotions, but how many emotions do you think exist? How many emotions can you name? Like you don't have to name them, but just, can you name 10, 12, 20? How many emotions can you name? And so here's why I think black men are unable to express themselves. Because we're in America. We're in a country where men already are told that we're not supposed to be expressing emotion. This is what we're told. Society tells us this. Society says we're not supposed to be emotional. Despite the fact that we're humans, emotion is part of our internal response to stimuli. But more than just us being men. Like I said, in America, in the United States of America, not only do we have the thing of, well, men aren't supposed to express emotion, but we're in a place where America doesn't care what black men are feeling. They're like, so even if America acknowledges that black men have emotions, America doesn't give a damn. America's like, we don't care. We don't care about your feelings. We don't care what you were going through that led you to do this thing. We're burying you under the jail. Now, let that be a white male. Oh, well, his family life was hard. He was abused. He was beaten. He was neglected. He was down on his luck. Everything had fallen in on him. That's why he did this thing. Black men, we don't care why you did it. We don't care what you were going through. We don't care what you feel. That's the reality of what we face in America. So that's why I feel black men. And my initial thought was that she was dealing with men in a correctional setting. So I'm not sure. Maybe she was dealing with men who had come from a correctional setting, but those men definitely. And I speak that as a man who was in a correctional setting, and these were the kinds of things we were going through. Because in addition to individual therapy, I've done plenty of group therapy, and it's hard for men to talk like when you have somebody new to the group who hasn't been used to participating in groups, getting them to get to the point where they're like, I don't want to talk about my feelings and stuff like that. It's a tough thing. But then you see as people are getting more used to it, it's like, okay, now we're learning to express. And I remember my partner, how we would be in situations like, so we're still inside and we're in situations where he's thinking about reacting a certain way, and he starts just channeling things from therapy. And he's like, yo, he says, I was about to go off on this person. I was about to just, I was just about to, catch wreck on this person. But I said, wait a minute. Intelligence over emotion. And like, it was this chart that, one of his therapists had gone over with him, of acknowledging that you have the emotion, and then acknowledging that it exists, but then realizing that there's um like there's a difference between what you feel and what's actually going on. So the feeling is what you're feeling inside. The actual facts of what's going on is separate. Learning to separate those two things and then make a decision, putting intelligence over emotion. And so he would like regularly be in a situation, and there's times when he had to pull me off the ledge, where he's like, yo, don't don't do it. Like he's like, you're supposed to be the you're supposed to be the sensible one. I got to pull you off the ledge because like you about to put emotion over intelligence. You about to just jump out there and and do something that's going to have negative repercussions. But like there are so many, and that's why I thought, and I don't know if that was the setting or the men she was dealing with, men who are either in a correctional setting or coming out of a correctional setting. But those are definitely there are definitely so many black men that are in those settings that have trouble to, because like we're in prison. Like we're in prison. We're not like talking about our emotions. Like that's what's considered soft. So when we're in therapy and we're learning that, okay, listen, just because you're talking about your emotions and acknowledging your emotions doesn't make you soft, it doesn't make you weak. In fact, it's a sign of strength being able to control and modulate your emotions. Being able to control your emotions, that's the strength. Being a slave to your emotion, just reacting, yeah, that's not strength. That's weakness. Just just something happens and just all thought goes out the window. That's weakness. Um, are black men unable to express themselves? Why does she believe that? I think, as Dee said, black men are just fed up with criticisms which they've had on media for 40 odd years. Um, yeah, I mean, I can understand being tired of criticisms, but I can understand why criticism exists. Because tell me this, okay, listen, if black men are perfect, if black men in the United States are perfect, and we're in the situations we're in, like that's a scary notion. So no, I'm like, you know what? I'm not perfect. I got things to work on, and I got to start working on them to improve my conditions. Yes, a black woman is the one that doxed her. There were many people calling her job, several people calling her job to get her fired. My problem is that she framed her conversation around the need for emotional intelligence to service woman foremost and for male improvement second. You see, I see if you looked at her first video on it, she doesn't center black women. She says that it will help in your relationships, but it will help you. It will help you navigate the world. And so I think when she's offering improving your relationships as an option, I think that's part of a selling point. So she's trying to say when she's offering that as that's supposed to be, and see, this is an added benefit. You have it'll even improve your relationship with your woman. Like, it's not saying that that's why you do it, but that's an added benefit. Trying to get dudes on board, and quite frankly, it's true. Like, it will help. Like, listen, being emotionally in control, and Lucas had touched on this. The things it does for for your ability to interact with women, whether you're in a monogamous relationship or not, is just amazing. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. If you're emotionally because in fact, the funny thing is, because I was on TLA's panel, TLA, and I talked about how women's emotional intelligence is higher than men's. It is, because women are constantly dealing with their emotions, examining their emotions, expressing their emotions, and men tend to, I'm going to shove that down. I'm going to put it to the side. I'm not going to look at it, which is why there's these beliefs that, oh, men are logical, women are emotional. Look around us. Men are not logical. Men are not behaving logically. Trust me. And I'm saying men in general. So so there's the evidence would drastically suggest otherwise than that men are acting logically while women are acting emotionally. It's certain emotions that men keep channeling that men prioritize. Anger is an emotion. So what do dudes do when they feel shame? They feel shame, they channel it into anger. They feel guilt, anger. They feel like all of these negative emotions they feel, dudes will channel it into anger, and it will exhibit itself in some type of regression. That's a problem. Instead of being able to stop, acknowledge what you're feeling, and process it, be like, okay, I get it. And accepting, because like I was at a point years ago that I wanted to avoid all negative emotion. I got to a point where I could go through something embarrassing and go, you know what? Okay, I see why that happened. I can acknowledge what I was feeling, acknowledge why it happened, and then go, okay, it is what it is. It happened. I feel it. And is there anything I can do? Like, let's say I don't like the feeling. I don't like the feeling. How can I act to avoid being in that situation again? Loner cruising with threat. Also, you have people making videos pushing false narratives about the black community having an anti-Asian problem. And instead of black people pushing against that, we're too busy fighting each other. Listen, I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking about, you got people like Nick Fuentes out there. Nobody's saying a peep about him. You got people like what was Zimmerman, George Zimmerman, still walking around. Nobody touching the hair on his chinny chin chin. But people are celebrating like they accomplished something because they got this black woman fired. I'm like, wow. Like, there's actual enemies. There are actual threats to the black community. And if we're going to, and here's the thing, if we're going to be, and I get it, everybody doesn't necessarily agree with my style of communication. And so I have to adjust my style of communication. And Lucas, pointed that out. Lucas pointed that out, that her style of her approach did not take into consideration the audience she was trying to reach. So that I may be in a position where if somebody is telling me like it is, I'll be like, I'll acknowledge, I'll examine what they're saying for the reality of what they're saying. So if somebody comes on the stream, say, your camera sucks. Okay. I'll take a look at it. I'll look at the video. I'm like, and I'll acknowledge. Like, I remember in early videos, people was like, oh, your background. And I didn't even know what they were getting. And like, oh, okay, let me spruce it up. Let me put something in the background. Let me make this more exciting. Like, understanding what people are saying, listen to it, process it. Do they have a point? Okay. Make some adjustments. It's simple. But like this was these hollow victories against people that aren't the enemy is mind-boggling. And when black men do express themselves, they're told they are weak for it. Listen, that's what she's saying. That's what she's saying. So she's not saying that. Okay, listen. That's why she's saying go to therapy. Because if you don't feel comfortable expressing it to women, and quite frankly, listen, and even having gone through therapy, I'm not necessarily going to just to be sitting with a woman and be like, yes, what you said made me feel sad. What you said made me feel like like no. There's conversations that are for therapy, and then in therapy we have certain conversations that enable me to navigate better outside of therapy. I don't need to have those same conversations outside of therapy. So, like, while I may have the conversation, like, okay, I went through this, this person said this to me, and I felt shame. I felt sad. I felt rejected. And we can process it, walk through it together. And then when I'm outside of therapy, interacting with people, I don't need to say these things out loud. I know how I can better deal with them. I can better process these emotions and act accordingly. But listen, I get it. Like you said, when we're told they're weak and it's, yeah, listen, you're right. But that's why I'm saying if we know this, then we know that that's why black men don't look at our emotions, because we're told that that's weakness, that expressing emotions are weakness. So, of course, we're not emotionally adept, because we're buying into stuff that's not for our benefit. We're buying into a narrative that denies our humanity. As human beings, we're emotional. Human beings feel emotions, period. A lot of black men just see this request for opening up as a trap. But like I said, to a therapist, to a therapist. You're right, we're not perfect, and black men know that. But it hits a bit harder when we get criticized by black women often, on top of all the other demonization and criticisms we already get in society. So I get that. But like, what about this black woman? So let's say you've got Cynthia G. Let's say you've got the divester, Gestapo, them running around. This woman is separate from them. I think it does a disservice to automatically say, oh, you're one of them. You see what I'm saying? Because you're right. There's a lot of criticism, and some of the criticism is just lies. Because you've got, like you said, D, you've got people on social media just making stuff up about us. Like you got one clown who right now has a video talking about, oh, why do people of color always act like that? You know, he's one of the clowns I talk about. Oh, I can't stand that scumbag. And that's another thing. Like you got this smoke for her, but assholes like that are still on YouTube, got millions of followers, millions of subscribers, and ain't nobody like what? You got Tatum and Owens just making a killing, but they're mad at this woman. Okay, let me stay focused. Yes, I get what you're saying. I get it. Yes. And I think that would have been a great way to have the conversation with her. like this would have been a great opportunity to say, hey sis, to reach out. Like somebody should have. It's funny. I say somebody should have reached out to her to have her on the platform as I sit. Okay, I will take my own advice as well, and make some attempts. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if she's willing to talk to anybody, but somebody should have reached out, and somebody could have reached out. Somebody could have reached out and said, "Hey, what you're saying sounds like an attack. It feels like an attack. I mean, what do you? Could you elaborate? Do you want either elaborate on your platform or come onto somebody else's platform, and we could have this dialogue or discussion to commune? Because there's no reason for black men to have a space that's antagonistic towards black women, and black women to have a space that's antagonistic to black men, and us just to be going at it. Now, I get at certain times there may be necessary for us to have our own spaces so that we can feel comfortable having certain discussions. I get that, but that should be about comfort, not about hostility towards each other. It should be about, okay, black men want a space where we can talk and not feel the shame or the feel not willing to open up around black women. And black women, vice versa, same thing. They may want to be able to have a space where they can talk and share things that's exclusive to them. I get that. But it doesn't mean that these two sides need to be hostile towards one another. We should be able to talk to each other and dialogue with each other to grow together. Black men criticizing black women all the time, but when a black woman has a slight critique, it's a problem. And so, like, I look at the Kevin Samuel thing, and it's like, when Kevin Samuel passed, I've done several videos, and at no point did I bash Kevin Samuels. Number one, I appreciated him as a content creator. One of the best. Whew, like, seriously, he really set a standard on content creation. And by the way, I want to not forget that aspect of what she's doing, because she's a therapist, but she's also a content creator. So being on a platform like TikTok, she has a message, but she's still got to be entertaining. Like, that's the thing about content creation. It's not all and the so this must happen. Like, what's that guy, Ben Stein, the Ben Stein draw, just the Bueller. Like, nobody's watching then. So she's got to bring some spice. She brought some levity, some joking, like an informal persona with it. So I get what she's doing. But in terms of Kevin Samuels, there were times when his critiques seemed harsh. But if I've seen that and looked deeper and like, okay, I get why he said that. Now, there's sometimes he may have said something where I don't necessarily agree with it. I don't think he hated black women. And he said over and over, like, no, I'm trying to help black women. He also had critique of black men, but it seemed his platform really blew up when it seems a lot of people wanted to hear him talk about somebody else. They didn't want to hear him talk about them. And like I said, that's what I'm seeing as a trend these days, where everybody loves accountability. Everybody loves accountability as long as it's somebody else being held accountable. It also hits a bit harder when black men are not allowed to criticize black women without backlash, but are always expected to accept all the criticisms thrown our way by the other. Okay, so here's the thing. Like, that's why some of this critiques against black men, okay, whatever. And that's why I'll come out and say no, because I'm not going to sit here and we're not going to play this game like black women are perfect. No, we all have work to do. If we look at where the black community is, and there's reasons for it, there's definite reasons for it. There's external reasons, but the external reasons don't change the facts that we have an internal responsibility to do something about it. We have the internal ability to make moves, to maneuver. Just because there's an obstacle in your way doesn't mean, oh man, look, there's you're walking down the street and there's a sofa in the middle of the sidewalk. Oh man, there's a sofa there. I guess I can't move. I got to just stay here or find some way around it. If it's completely blocking the sidewalk, walk into the street, walk around it, boom. There are obstacles in our path. We've got to navigate them. And so when anybody, because listen, I agree with you 1,000%. There are Black women that are saying that will complain anytime there's critique leveled at them. Anytime. And I'll say the same thing. That's ridiculous. You are not perfect. You are not perfect, and you are not somebody that, oh, I can do no wrong. I can heed no advice. No, it's ridiculous. But what I want to acknowledge is that I'm seeing something in American society, in a broader American society. And so I use men in quotation marks because males, I'm seeing what's happening right now in America is that society doesn't want adults. Society doesn't like adults. Society does not like people that are mature and are taking accountability and accepting accountability and responsibility for ourselves. Society doesn't want that across the board because it's easier to control us that way. And I'm seeing this trend all across the country. And I'm like, wow, this is not boding well for where we're headed as a society at all. If we're not at a place, if we don't get to a place where we're like, okay, so she said words, I'm an adult. I may feel some type of way. Let me take a breath, process those emotions. Okay. This is because even in my response to somebody on Twitter about something they posted earlier this week, I was about to get salty and I said, okay, let me stop, take a breath. And I came across much more cordially. Now today, I offered some less than constructive tweets in response to some material that people had written. I acknowledge that. Drew B, bro, facts and facts. Thank you. 100%. Thank you, Darth Vader. Javier, why Black community have women throw their own men under the bus? I think Kevin Samuel exposed interracial hatred for what I saw in his. So here's what I'm saying. Just saying, because there's difference between the word criticism and critique. And she didn't just say, oh, y'all are lazy, y'all are shiftless, y'all don't do nothing. She didn't say that. And like I said, people are still looking at this through their emotional filter. Let's listen to the words she said, because she literally said, Black men, y'all are human beings. You have feelings, you have emotions. You don't have to choke it down anymore. Choking it down is bad for you. If you let it out, if you express it, it'll make your life easier. She said, I know that this world is hard on you. And she even stops, like she pauses in her delivery to say, listen, I know this world is weird and it's hard on you. And let's acknowledge that. This is what she's saying. These are Bree's words. Let's acknowledge how hard this world is on Black men. This is a woman that hates Black men. She's not throwing anybody on the butt. She's pleading, like, not sometimes when somebody is saying, hey, and I gave the example of somebody that's got crust in their eyes and toothpaste on their face or whatever. If you say, hey, your face is messed up, Is that person making fun of you? Is that person mocking you or belittling you? Or are they trying to help you? Hey, yo, you've got something on your face. They're telling you that they see something wrong and they're giving you the opportunity to do something about it. Now, if instead of talking to you, they're doing going all around telling everybody and nobody's saying nothing to you, and everyone's just standing there laughing at you, nobody's saying a word to you, that's a different story. If you're 30 on fries, you don't supermodel. If you're 220 as a woman, you don't get a millionaire. The truth hurts. And that's what we have to realize. Sometimes the truth hurts. And sometimes the truth is exactly what we need. Another factor to be considered on why a lot of black men were enraged by her is the anti-black male and toxic comment section in her video. You should read it. You'll see what I mean. I'm gonna check that out. I'm gonna check that out. Yeah, because I didn't look at the TikTok. And here's the point: if as a content creator, if you got some clowns, like if I do a video and I got some clown, like so I did the George Floyd video on the George Floyd statue in Jersey. They built a statue for George Floyd in Jersey. I had some idiots coming on my stream thinking I'm Brandon Tatum. I checked that. I nipped that shit in the bud. I'm not Brandon Tatum. Take your dumb shit elsewhere. Like you're not coming here with that. Like so people come, oh yeah, these didn't do nothings. Like what are you talking about? Get the go go over there. I'm not the one. So yeah, like if there's people on some anti-bashing black men, anti-black men bashing black men stuff, yeah, she should be checking that in the comments. Definitely, she should definitely be nipping that shit in the butt and letting them know, no, you don't bring that shit here. I 2,000% D. The world is not hard on black men. Yes, yeah, you're talking about that. What world are you living in? How many black men are incarcerated for longer sentences for the same actions that others are getting either less time or no time? Okay, but the world isn't hard on black men. Okay, what does her toxic comment section have to do with her? Real men don't have emotions. Like I've heard people say that stuff, and I'm like, you're the person she's talking to. Like you're the one that really needs to get in touch with your emotions if you think you're not supposed to have emotions. Like you could think about that Jay song. Can't see it coming out my eyes, so I got to make the song cry. She fostered an anti-black male environment where gay black men and black women in the comment section were being super toxic and some hateful against black men. Okay, that's a problem. That's a problem. Lust is a very big one for men in general. Listen, and that's what I've said. So there's two emotions that black men are allowed to feel and are accused of feeling. Just two emotions. We're either angry black men or lustful black men. So we're either angry or horny. Those are the only emotions that black men are acknowledged as having. That's it. We're either we're either a threat to people physically or sexually. That's it. Those are the only two emotions that they acknowledge that black men have. And so her commentary is that no, we're full human beings. We have the full range and spectrum of emotions, and we can't buy into the societal nonsense and noise that is trying to tell us no, we're just angry. Samantha Cooker, you don't care about no one else. Who you mean? Black men? Stop justifying degeneracy. It's not your system, so what you expect? Exactly. It's a system that was built by people that hate us. There's going to be effects from that. It's true they don't care what a black man feels. Was she late to the party? Lady Boss is a prime example of the type that aggravates black men and men in general. Um, am I lying? Okay, so you're having is it your system? Our women are a bit more aggressive, surly to us. They are. And listen, there's ways to deal with that. And I'm not talking about with your fist. So, being emotionally mature, being emotionally attuned, enables you, teaches, like, you'll be able to navigate that. But if we're not emotionally secure, emotionally intelligent, if our emotional IQ isn't on par with our women's, then we're going to, all kinds of dysfunction are going to be in the relationship. But men that know, that are in touch with themselves emotionally, and have mastered and are developing a mastery of their emotions. Oh, oh, we're not your woman. Okay. You said the world is not hard on black men. Only a toxic and tone deaf individual would say that. You're why a lot of black men don't express themselves emotionally. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. That person can say whatever they want to. Okay. Just like this. I certain things I don't even take seriously. So if somebody say the world isn't hard on black men, okay, I laugh. Like like you, when a statement is so divorced from reality, okay, I agree. I will say, what does yourself and chat think if the roles were reversed and it was woman getting a man fired, or for things he said to shape him up? Yeah, like when people were coming out of Kevin Samuels, I'm like, yeah, that's not. I get certain women being in the feelings. Like I get, I get the women that are on those phone calls, on those video chats, getting in their feelings, but I also get them. Listen, you called in, you got some advice, maybe that you didn't expect to get, but that you needed, and you have a choice to either accept the advice and examine yourself, or reject it and continue feeling unfulfilled. And I'm saying you're unfulfilled because you're calling in, expressing some kind of problem. Just reacting is what animals do. It's not people who think, and that's key. We can't be reactive. But I saw this around this situation. I saw people just reacting, just what's she say about us, and just people just reacting blindly, like no thought, no stepping back. Let me think about this. Um, how's it hard on black men? Examples. I already gave a couple. I already gave a couple. Most incarcerated for the longest time. Like, how is it not? I'm not going to explain to you anything. Go read a book or something. And so, like, if you want to read about examples, you can read um, New Jim Crow. That's just a touch of it. Black women, I thought it was men. Interesting. Um, so, a black woman doxter wrote the article, and men were calling into the job. I think some women were calling as well. Like, you had some women who were saying they were mental health professionals who were also, oh, she's not professional. I'm like, what's with the tone policing? Like, what's with the tone policing? Like, you think every therapist is supposed to sound the same? Like, no. Like, she's speaking in a way, it seems, that she can reach her clientele. And like that's essential for building rapport. Have black men had forums to discuss these issues previously in these 40 plus years, and what was the reaction to that? Um, yeah, yeah, we've had forums. Um, yeah, but we need more, and we need to be taking advantage of them to discuss. to discuss us, to start working, to continue working on us. Because like at the end of the day, if my life is hard, if my life is in shambles, at the end of the day, guess what I can't control? Let's say my boss is a scumbag. He's making my job hard. Let's say my girlfriend is just causing me grief. Let's say my family is harassing me. At the end of the day, I can't control any of them. I can control me. At the end of the day, I control me. So while I can't control what they do, I can control how I react and deal with all of the stuff coming my way. That's the key. Wait, how do you know it was this black man's fault? Okay, so have you been on Twitter? There are black men saying that they're calling, advocating for, saying they called, and encouraging others to call her job and call for her to be fired. Like, here's the thing. Here's what's not making sense to me. So now that she got fired, I'm seeing a lot of black men, like a lot of people, like, oh, how's this black man's fault? 2 days ago, like 2 days ago, people were like, yo, get her fired. Oh, she shouldn't have a job. Like, and earlier today, when she first announced she's fired, people were celebrating. Now that there's pushback, like, man, y'all did that suckers. Y'all got her fired? Really? Now that pushback comes, oh, how's it us? Well, weren't you one of the ones that was celebrating like 5 hours ago? 5 hours ago, when she first announced she got fired, you were one of the ones in the tweet in Twitter celebrating. Haha, that's what you get. Consequences. Now all of a sudden it's, oh, why is this black man's fault? Wait, I thought you were taking credit for this. You were taking credit for this until people started calling you out like, man, that's some sucker nonsense. Now the dudes is getting called out for that, and there's some still rolling with it. Some still rolling hard body with it. But there's some people like trying to, oh no, this ain't on us. But you were celebrating. Talk about, yeah, this is what we do. This is what we got to do. Poor selling point. I don't find it useful or sensible to explain anything to you because you're such a toxic individual. I'm glad I'm happily married man to an amazing black woman living in the UK and don't have to deal with this stupid social media mess. But let me not lie, the so-called Davis is ugly as hell. Interesting. I'm not sure how that's relevant, but interesting. Thank you for your perspective. He got on the cake. Okay. Listen, you know what I don't have? I don't have my thumb in my mouth. I'm not crying about what some woman on Twitter said, on TikTok said about me. Because that's what a lot of dudes did. A lot of dudes was on Twitter crying about some woman. They don't know what she said apparently about them. They've accepted it about themselves. Now, I'm not saying she was talking to me. She didn't say my name, but a bunch of dudes got in their feelings and had their thumb in their mouths, was crying about a woman they don't know, talking in general, and made it personal to them. You know what that meme is? And I took that personally. Yeah, they take it personally. So yeah, I got a cape on, but I don't got a thumb in my mouth crying about some woman I don't know making a general statement about improving ourselves. Looking at how many men have fell into red pill and manosphere crap shows you a lot of men are not thinking that rationally. And here's the thing with that. There's so many red pill claims to be about, oh yeah, we got to do better. But if you're just spending all your time bashing women, and so red pill is woman universal. Oh, it's woman's fault. Woman is this. Women need to be doing this. Like, no, like, what do you need to do? Because you're the one that has a problem. You're the one that wants to get women. So if you want to get women, complaining about what women are and aren't doing right, it's kind of counterproductive. The question is, what are you not doing right because you're without a woman and you want the woman. You're the one that has the desire. You're the one that has the need. So you're the one that should be like, wait, what do I need to do to improve my situation, to meet this need or this desire that I have? By the way, oh no, I knew who you're talking about. Yeah, I knew who you're talking about. And yeah, and yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Um, I think you have one of the top three YouTube channels, but I disagree strongly with this. Okay, thank you, Smart. But she said that black men need to step up, but it's black women who is used as a chess piece. Listen, I think both of those things can be true, and I think both of those things are true. I think that there's these outside forces that will seek to divide and conquer at every step they can, and they will use things like the political system, the educational system, all these degrees. They will use this to try to say, see, yeah, you don't need him, girl. You're good. But what I liked about her is she wasn't saying black women don't need black men. She was saying, we need you to meet us. We need you to meet us halfway. We need you. That's what I liked about what she was saying. She wasn't on that pink that's how I interpreted it. Now, maybe I interpreted it wrong, right? And we can have that discussion. And that's what I'm saying. Like, this was a opportunity for discussion. But yeah, you're absolutely right, Samora, that there's outside forces who will try to manipulate and use black women against black men. Absolutely, 1,000%. Um, Agree. Red pill and manosphere stuff is mostly nonsense. Black women are not being used to destroy the black community. Listen, the outside forces will try to manipulate. They divide and conquer is what they do best. Divide and conquer. And listen, there are black there are black men that are being used to do some nonsense too. I talked about one of them earlier. He got a video out right now talking about well, why do people of color always act a fool? That clown. Oh, he's such a clown. I can't stand that dude. My opinion, religion works better than therapy as long as you have a solid base. Okay. Yeah, not a fan of the manosphere and red pill shit either. Thank you, D. You can never fix yourself if the problem is always somebody else. Um, I don't have time for the story, but Lady Boss, in the very near future, I'm going to tell the story. This is not just a story, this is my story. And I'm going to tell you the story about how I was in a situation that was not only unjust, not only unfair, it was illegal. It was illegal, but the only way for me to beat it was because I couldn't control the external factors. I could control how I reacted to it. And that's what I had to do in order to master the situation. Sounds like projection to me. Oh man. um, so listen, and so I used to feel some type of way about religion, true being, but I realized that religion is very. Some people at certain points in their lives benefit a lot from religion. So some people will benefit from therapy, some people will benefit from religion, and I think that we're different. We're individuals, and there's certain things that we will react to differently. Not building is weakness. There we go. Toxicity and anti-black man rhetoric. That was very similar to black men don't want a woman helping them, and maybe they shouldn't. Well, listen. Here's the thing. Black men. Now here's. I think as black men, we need to be leaders, but at the same point, we need to realize where we are in a society, and we have to be willing to work with black women because we're 400 years behind. Like we're down bad. We need to fight back because, and like I said, this didn't happen by accident. This happened by design. We're dealing with people that have intentionally and systematically waged war against us. We're going to have to systematically and coordinate our response to address those obstacles being placed in our path. Thank you. Why is Jesse Lee Peterson still on YouTube? Exactly. So like I'm getting ready to because I hear the noise starting. So I'm not gonna be in here too much longer. I'm just gonna read out these rest of the comments. And I want to, and by the way, everyone who's on stream, please hit that like button. Don't forget to hit that like button. And thank you for coming out to the stream. Don't worry, we'll talk more about this. We'll talk more about what going forward. Um, because yeah, this was crazy. And like I said, the same way I was talking about how other people should have reached out, I'm going to attempt to reach out to Unusually Bree and see if she wants to talk about the situation or whatever, and or have any kind of discussions going forward. Um, I would say that who else to you tell you we slacking off than black man or woman? I say, Lady Boss, you might want to belt. We need to hold people like Tatum Owens. Yes, yes. PragerU. PragerU was tweeting against reparations yesterday. Like I'm like anybody, but they're mad at Unusually Bree. Yeah, PragerU put out like at least three different anti-reparations tweets in the last couple of days. Um, we won't like how they come at us, but if it's the truth as a man, you should take the truth for what it is. Absolutely, yeah. Um, I'm good here. Yeah, and that's why don't let it get under your skin. Like when you're at a point where you can realize when somebody's just trying to get at you, like, haha, nice try, lady boss. Then oh man, this was an interesting chat. This was a very interesting chat. I really enjoyed this chat. I would say the same for sisters, but I believe sisters sometimes take a message the wrong way, not because what we said wasn't truth, but because how someone came at them. Echo, respond to Lady Boss. Is there validity to their statements in your opinion? So the about them not being the world not being hard on black men, that's ridiculous. Like that's not even you're not even based in reality if you make that statement. And you're not even based in reality if you make that statement. And so now, and I have to question your mental well-being if you believe that statement. Like if you're saying it just to try to get a rise out of somebody, okay, I see what you're doing. You're trolling, you know. I saw a video by this guy called Foreign Man in a Foreign Land claiming the black community has anti-Asian problem, and where's the backlash? Yet this lady gets tons of backlash for what exactly? Hello, dude. Men get canceled all the time for stuff they don't agree with. I don't care for this. Nobody says anything when men get canceled by women. Yeah, people say. You have any videos about Andrew Tate right now? Yes, yes. There's plenty of people talking about it when men get canceled. Plenty, and there's men crying about it right now. They would never have done this to a male therapist. Not done exactly what? If this was a male therapist saying the same things, highly doubt he would have gotten the same backlash. Um, Everyone loves to hold everyone else accountable but themselves. Yes, yes. Input is here. It's just as interesting. The sister here, her input is just as interesting as us. KS told the truth. Broke men don't get IG models and women that way too. Listen, he told that dude that was broke and didn't have a job, and he's like, how do you get to demand women to come see you? How? Like you got nothing to offer them. Adam and Eve till now. Is it a woman who doxed her? A woman was the one that wrote the article that put her full government name and her place of employment out there. Yeah, it was crazy. It's no fun when the rabbit has the gun. There are many black men who can take no criticism, especially if it's black women criticizing them. And that's the point. Like, here's the thing. If it's coming from somebody who hates me, then I'm going to feel a different way than if it's coming from somebody that actually cares about me. So if we should be more willing to take criticism. Black men and black women should be more willing to take criticism from each other. All of us should be willing to have conversations with each other as opposed to from other people coming in and giving in their 2 cents. So we should be much more willing to have these open discussions with each other than other people, than maybe, because like it's backwards. If we're accepting other people's criticism and then bristling when we're criticizing each other, that doesn't make any sense. America wants us to be victims and to abuse one another instead of getting our act together and teaming up to fight our natural. Exactly. She understands the plight, but she isn't treating us like children either. Get your act together, black men. Yeah, we've got work to do. Um, this sounds like a mammy who got turned on by the ones she was cheerleading. Um, I question both Candace Owens and Tatum because they. um, if you want to date white people, okay, but too many black people who hate their own race, and plenty are doing it because of that. Javier, that's what I noticed too. There's few memes that a lot of black men are willing to date white. It's like standards, people. Hey Kenny, just Kenny, welcome to the stream. You can't cry about the criminal justice system while committing crimes. It is not crying. Number one, not crying about the criminal justice system. Number two, who like it gets to the point of what you think that another person can tell you what you can and cannot do, and that's what I'm talking about. Adulthood. See, because when you think like a child, you believe that Joe Biden has the authority to tell you what you can and cannot put in your body. When you think like a child, when you're adult, you're like, fuck y'all. I don't give a fuck whether y'all think people should smoke crack or heroin or whatever. That's your choice. Like, my jurisdiction is over my body, so the government has no say telling me what I can or cannot put in my body, because that's what an adult. Like, this is why my politics are based on me being an adult, on the fact that I like I don't live with my mommy, I don't live with my daddy. Boom, I've been an adult for years. I've lived on my own for years. I don't need the government telling me what I can and cannot do. That's what adults do. Children think the government has the right to tell grown people, grown men and women, you can't put this in your body. You can't smoke this. You can't inject this. What? Go fuck yourselves. Like, that's what everybody should be saying to the government when they're making these drug laws, when they're making these anti-prostitution laws. They should tell the government to go fuck themselves, because like, it's how is this any of your business? And how do you think you have the authority to tell grown adults what they must or mustn't do with their bodies? So that's what I'm talking about. So because the criminal justice system is based on the whims of a bunch of scumbags who are just men. They're just men. I don't give a damn what they think. I don't give a damn. It just is what it is. Um, Lady Boss, what leads black men to seek crime out? Um, Lady Boss, black women also do crime as well. Most people hating on the therapist. Ignore that himself. Some of them are family members, friends, and neighbors. They feed on attention. Okay, so I'm about to black men controlling themselves by going to neutral corner. Now people crying because they don't want to play no more. The tone was off, but the message is clear. I don't know why therapy. Yeah, it shouldn't be demonized at all. It definitely shouldn't be demonized. Evil men based on the instance, but most crimes is done to get money. Exactly. Also, don't like many black men making videos on her where saying vile crap about black women and talking out of pocket about while whining about yeah. Um, uh, Black men get bashed and blamed all day, every day on social media, and we gotta filter the noise out. We gotta filter the noise out, and that means all of us. So, like I said earlier today, I responded to somebody. I called somebody a moron on Twitter. What did that prove? What did that accomplish? Nothing. It accomplished nothing. Um, that's absolutely not true, Lady Boss. Have you seen school shootings? People, please ignore this episode troll. Uh, There's more white crime, more white on white crime. Yeah, Tatum's a clown. I understand your sister black men need to get together. Absolutely agree with the therapist points too, but it's more nuanced than that. Yes. Um, if it's as simple as that, then we should have been. But we've gotten it together, and then they've come up with new obstacles. So Black Wall Street existed in multiple cities in the United States, and then there was from riots to attacks to then the urban renewal and um, and eminent domain to destroy black towns and black wealth. Yeah, they will come up with, but we got it. It's a shifting, constantly evolving struggle. It takes both men and women. Takes both to make a nation. Um, black women don't always project. Don't get mad at black women speaking out of pocket. Do the same thing. Um, sound like Fox News. But don't come to Brooklyn with that religious stuff since they still robbing for. It's more of them in this country. Again, it's just not reported on. Right, it really is. Okay, Andrew Tate is a kickboxer who has a lot of stupid stuff he says. Okay, so listen, I saw one of the most interesting things is I saw him going head to head with Hassan Uger, who's Cenk Uger's nephew, and he got absolutely demolished. He literally says at one point, "I have my truth." I'm like, nobody like did none of his followers, his red pill followers, was on it. Like he sounded like a pure, like he might as well have been wearing pink hair and like he might like seriously, like it was just some pure SJW nonsense. He said in terms of yeah, well, this is my truth. Because like Hassan actually brought facts and statistics out. He says, "Well, I don't care if the facts and statistics. This is my truth." But once again, thank you everybody for coming out to the stream. Um, AW, another man bashing channel. Okay. Um, also, if we keep this structure and black men as a topic, I would love to hear your input when the sisters is brought up too. Brought up though. Also, when keep yeah. Um, so yeah, we're gonna I'm gonna end the stream, and I want to thank everyone for coming out to the stream, for participating, for talking in the chat, and like I said, we'll be talking some more about this. But like, this was crazy. This shouldn't have happened. This is something that could have been a conversation. This could have been a time when people come together and actually start dealing with mental health in the black community and mental wellness, because everybody thinks therapy is about crazy people, and therapy is actually could just be about maintaining your sanity in a crazy world. Because look around us. This world is crazy right now. This world is insane. This society, this American society right now is out of their fucking minds. They are. They are. This American society is out of their fucking minds. And us living in this world, yeah, we need to process some of this nonsense just to cope with the nonsense that's going on. Thank you everyone for coming out to the stream. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your evenings, the rest of your nights. Have a good one.